get into Ois Mem on page Kuf Yud. And the introduction to this is the principle of Oim Makif. That Oim Makif, the entire origin of Oim Makif, even though it's an oir, and it encompasses all the that ultimately would be beneficial to the world. But it encompasses it on a top-down manner, a makif manner. And the Oim Makif does not have, even at its inception, the principle of it benefiting ultimately world. The primary definition of Oim Makif is to reveal and to bring out from the Etzem what the Etzem is. What is the intent of bringing out this, the Etzem, in Begilui, that we shall still see. But this is the Indian, that this is an oir whose qualitative description is not what it can be effective, how it may be effective in its presence, but what its origin is. To point to its origin. Gilui V'neho Etzem. Etzem, we had not the time to, but just to refresh our memory. Etzem, if you go to look, you have to focus in the word of Etzem. So Etzem means that which is an internal truth, and it is not at all exposed or requiring of any kind of interaction. Even when Etzem becomes known, it stays in its own reality. Okay, now we're going to Memtes. Ubiru inyan hu, the full elaboration of this means biur. There are two different words, birur and biur. Birur means clarification. Biur means elaboration, merely explained. For it says in the Pasuk, Kodesh, Kuli Avayetz Voice, Melekol Oretz Kavedi. Kuli means etc. It says 3 times Kodesh, 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 Kodesh. The word Kodesh means holy. And what is the holy? What is the implication of the word holy? This is how we translate it here. What does holy mean? Holy means that which is above, in a different realm than world. Holy means in a higher realm. For example, something that's holy. What are the requirements of how we deal with something holy? You may not relate to it from a position of tuma. If somebody is impure, even if the impurity is not that result of a sin of anything, just something which is not perfectly pure, doesn't belong in kedusha, in something that's kodesh. You know that in the Midbar, when Eden and the first time we're going to be bringing the Korban Pesach Sheni, the Korban Pesach. So there was some people in the Torah says were Tomim Sodom. They were handling of the phenomenal mitzvah of Avodas HaMeis, which is one of the greatest mitzvahs. But they were involved in Avodas HaMeis, and therefore they were not tohir. And as such, when they were not permitted, they could not be doing the Aveda in the Korban Pesach. So this fact that they were prevented bringing Korban Pesach has nothing to do at all with the misdeed. On the contrary, it was a result of their dedication to a phenomenal mitzvah. And yet, there is a union of Tumah, and Tumah and Kedusha do not correlate. When they come to something holy, it's not a question of blame, it's a question of guilt, it's a question of something that belongs there that can relate to that type of holiness. And holiness and impurity do not correlate. So we say Kodesh, 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 Avad Tzvois. Avad Tzvois is, we say 3 times Kodesh, which is 3 different levels of Kedusha. The second Kodesh is removed even from the first Kodesh. The third Kodesh is removed even from the second Kodesh. Havaya Tzvois. Tzvois means the hosts, the source of the entire of creation. The entire world is mole, is full of kvede of His glory. The Targum translating this verse. What's kvede? Ziv Yikore. Ziv Yikore means, Ziv means the shine, the brightness, Yikore of His glory. That's kvede. So this translation of the Targum gives us an in to discuss this kvede. Yes, Ziv Yikore, which means Shema Shenim Shechem Mislavish Boi Lomeis. That this which is drawn and comes and Mislavish Boi Lomeis and relates to the world, because he has Melech Kol Haaretz Kveda. This is what fills the earth. What fills the earth from Kedusha, from Meibushin, is Ziv Yikore. Hu Bechinas Ziv Ha'or Alavad. What of the Lakus comes and fills the world is only Ziv V'Ha'ora. Ziv means a shine, V'Ha'ora means a reflection. It's difficult to translate these words precisely because these are not words that are in a common usage, human usage. The intent of using this word ha'ora means there is oir and there is ha'ora. Oir, as we discuss all the time, is the impact, is the actual revelation of the essence. Oir is telling you that there is an essence behind this. And this statement that there is an essence behind this gives this oir a significant presence. Like in our motion, that if you enter a home and there is a person sitting there, and the person, this is the, so to speak, this is the proprietor, this is the host of this home. So, before you even greet him, before you even talk to him, You have nothing to do with him. You don't even communicate. But his presence makes an impact on you. Oh, there's something real over here. This is the oir. This is the oir of a living human being, of an intelligent human being, a full-fledged human being. This is the host of this home. This is called oir. We discussed this many times, and now I'm just reiterating so that because we will need it for what follows. In this oir, as we discussed many times, there are different levels within this oir. There is the impact of the oir itself, which means that as it comes from the source. And then there is just the impact, not referring to the source, just the result of this. Like we said many times, that when you encounter the host personally, it has a profound impression on you. As for example, when you are at a wedding, and the wedding consists, there are the principles of this wedding all the way up to the chosen and kala themselves. So it is customary at the wedding that the principals, the parents of the chosen kala, the chosen kala themselves are segregated. They're sitting, so to speak, in their place. Although occasionally they do mingle and go around with the people. But it is customary that the parent would go and visit and sit a moment at every table. This sitting at the table is of great significance to the people around this table. It brings them in. It brings to them the oil, so to speak, of what's going on, of the reality here. It has a tremendous effect. Their presence in this wedding is real, to the extent that it actually brings about the visit from the host. Now, other times, not when he is visiting them, or even there are moments at the wedding, perhaps, that the principals are not even there. They're doing their own thing. Nonetheless, there is what's called the ha'ora. There still remains the sense that you're sitting at the wedding, even though you don't see the chosen kala, and you don't see even the parents of the chosen kala. There is not the oil, there's not the reality of what this is about. Yet, it still has an effect between the ha'ara. The effect of this of the impact. There's the impact, which is a direct light, and then there is the effect of it. The effect of it is that this is a joyous moment. And all that you're going to be talking about is wishing Chosen Kala Mazel Tov, even in absentia. I speak about... Yes.
Can I ask something?
Yes, sure.
In the mashal, which is said that when he sees the host, he sees the oil, he has the oil. Why doesn't he have the etzem? He sees the host himself.
The etzem, per se, stays in the inside. The etzem does not manifest aside, the oil of the etzem can come out, but the etzem itself, there's an etzem. Etzem does not come to outside of itself.
But he sees the host. He sees the host himself.
That's the oil. The seeing is the oil. What do you see? You see the and that what he stands for, the simcha that's on his face and so forth. This is all the oil of the etzem. This is not the etzem.
But as the Moshe, when he goes to someone's house and he sees the owner of the house, so he sees the etzem itself. I don't understand how the etzem stays in itself.
The host of the house owns this home. What brings a person, a human being, to owning a home? What gives him the ability and the right to own a home? He has to have a place to sleep, a place to eat. So you go to a restaurant and eat. Go to a hotel and sleep. Where is this principle that he owns a home? The ownership of the home, I've discussed many times, is not even contained within the human being himself. He doesn't fully understand the implication of it. This is something which was given to him by his Creator. This is the Meibushan's gift to the human being. This is the etzem of the human being, which is higher than him.
At the beginning here of this paragraph, we said biur ha'inyan hu. Are you clarifying what inyan?
Makif.
Okay, good. And then we went on to say about kadosh, that only the pure, only purity.
No, that I explained the inyan from Kodesh. This is not
right.
Okay. Explain the principle. What is Kodesh? Kodesh means remote, holy.
Remote, okay.
What is that it cannot be in proximity to anything that's impure.
Fine. Then we went on to two mashalim, one about the house, one about the chasana. They're pointing to the same thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Light. Okay.
I want to explain the words ha'ora. Ziva ha'ora lavad. How do you explain the word ha'ora? You have to go back to the source, the essence. The essence gives an oir. The effect of this oir is a ha'ora.
Okay. Fine.
And this is what Rebbe says. Zivikore, the Targum translates, Zivikore. Ziv means a shine. The shine means not the oil itself, but the shine, the illumination that comes from it, the effect of it. This is Ziv ha'ora all about. This is only the ha'ora. This is the effect of it. This is not it itself. The Atzma saying so. This is all telling us the principle that Atzma saying so. Kodesh u'muvdo. Kodesh and Muvdo go together. Kodesh, we do not have a full comprehension what that means. This is something come from above. Muvdo, we understand. Muvdo means it is separate from all the goings out, all the quagmire of the world. That always stays pure regardless of where it is to be identified. Ukmesha Kosov, as the Pasuk says, HaKodesh b'shamayim v'oretz. The HaKodesh that which is holy, Bashomayim V'Oretz, in the Shomayim V'Oretz. Shomayim V'Oretz, this is the world. And he says, even Shomayim V'Oretz is Kodesh. What?
Atzmas Oir Ein Sof speaks about Oir, not about the Atzmas.
Atzmas Ein Sof speaks about the Atzmas of the Oir. The Atzm of the Oir. Right, it's not about Atzmas. But it's an Oir. we have now already gotten exposed to this. There is the element of Oir, whose definition is it exposes, it's Megala Atzmas. It doesn't have its own function. HaKodesh Shomayim V'Oretz that Bashomayim V'Oretz means in the world, and yet we say in the world it's also called Kodesh. She'ein begeder hislapshus ba'ilomos, because it is not begeder, it is not in proximity, in the realm, the possibility of hislapshus ba'ilomos, to be mislabesh and to be imbued and absorbed by world. Kiyim rag haor. The only thing that can relate from this, from a kedusha, from a lakus, in world, is only ha'ora. And this is why it's called HaKodesh. It is Bashomayim V'Oretz. It has its effect, but the effect is only the ha'ora, not the etzem.
The etzem is Kodesh.
That's right. Not, and we said all the time, the impact of his presence. That's the oir. Ha'ora is the next stage. That how does this impact? How is it reflected in Shomayim V'Oretz? Shomayim V'Oretz remains Shomayim V'Oretz, but despite that Shomayim V'Oretz, it becomes recognizable that there is something of a higher quality that relates to it. It gives it a sense of oir, sense of elevation, sense of significance. Again, going back to our Mashalim, which I hope that we focus in and try to have a personal understanding of. Normally we'll give also from Beis Hamikdash. That's way out. But even in a shul, if a person stands and davens in a shul, he can daven at home. Davening at home and davening in shul is a different thing. It's a different experience. What's the difference? This is part of the world, this is part of the world. A shul is that part of the world that will be identified and defined and relating to davening. So that before you even enter the shul, before you even start davening, it's a place of davening. It's a place of that people who identify with the Meibush. When you daven your Ozid, you're talking to Meibush. But this is a place that's identified with the Meibush. It's dedicated to this function. Even on the simplest level, this is bunch of human beings. 10 people decided, this is going to be a shul. It has that supremacy. As a result of that, there are the halachas of how you're supposed to behave in the shul, even if there is nobody there. You're not allowed to use a shul for a shortcut. The shul presumably has two doors, front and back, and you want to go to the back, and it's shorter for you to go to the shul than to go around. You're not allowed to do that. Why not? Who is bothered by it? It's profaning the holiness of this place. What kind of holy place? This is a place that was made holy, declared by human beings who made it for a shul. This declaration gives it a sense of holiness. Because this declaration recognizes that the Rebbeinu is present, and we are recognizing this presence by dedicating this place to daven. In other words, not only when you're davening there, but when it's locked up in the middle of the night, it's also a shul.
This is telling us.
At that point, there is only a ha'orah. There's no real holiness there. When you daven, okay, you're davening. With the minyan particularly.
Mm-hmm.
Ha'orah means, I said, on a secondary level, it is recognition of what this is about. It is not the essence itself. So Bashamayim V'Oretz is Kvoide. Kvoide is Zivikore. Zivikore means the shine of his glory, not the glory itself. That's called a ha'orah. Ha'orah is that which reaches out to all that come inside this premise. As I said, to the extent that to use a shul for a shortcut is forbidden, halachically. Who is affected by it? Okay, let's continue. We're on the fourth line, from the top of the side of Ois Memtes. Obazehu habitl shel hasrofim v'rotze shelahem. Here is where is manifest and expressed the beetle of the Srofim. Because Kodesh, 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 this is the pronouncing of Malachim. Among Malachim themselves, there are different madrigas. There is Srofim, and there is the Chayz HaKodesh. The Srofim, these are the higher level of Malachim. They are called Srofim because they get burned. Their recognition of Elokus is so profound that every time that they think of it, they get burnt up in this ahava, in this cognizance. It's called Srofim.
How do they maintain their existence?
I don't know. So the Srofim have this experience, the beetle of the Srofim. Rotzu shalahem. Rotzu means their pursuit. Sheroitzim lihikole bein sod baruch. This is their pursuit. This is what they're looking for. They want to be lihikole. They want to be incorporated in Ein Sof. Why? Because they're recognizing the greatness of Ein Sof. Let's continue a little bit more. Lihikole bein sod baruch. Alidei hasogosam. And that is effectuated. That is brought about, this tremendous draw. And it's called, Rotzu means run. In other words, it's not a movement of a contemplated move. It's a move that is compulsory, so to speak. It's running with full force. Because they want to be incorporated in the Yisroel. This comes to them as a result of their comprehension. Shemasigim, when they comprehend what do they comprehend? What is their comprehension? What brings such a great force in their movement? It is they're recognizing that that the oil and the chayas that shines, that is reflected in world, that it impacts world and brings world a presence. In fact, this whole oil that gives the world such a tremendous presence and power is only ha'oro. It's only the effect of the presence, it's not the presence itself. The Atzmus Ein Sof, where the atom of the Ein Sof, the Ein Sof, and as it is unto itself, the real thing, Kodesh Umuvdol, is actually, Kodesh Umuvdol is separate. Cannot be part of the world. Should be part of the world will dissipate. What comes in the world, what gives the world the ability to be, is that only the ha'ara of it. Atzmas Ein Sof is Kodesh Umuvdol. Again, let's get to Moshe. We said many times, we have a home, we have a house, and we have a home. A house is a solid structure made of wood and mortar, whatever it is. And we know that a house that is not occupied, that does not become a human abode, does not become a home, it stands idle, it will fall apart. There is not the spirit that holds it together, however you explain it. This presence, this human presence, the spirit that is brought into the house of making it a home. This is, so to speak, a spirit, a human spirit, that I explained before, this is a human spirit that is given to the human being from above, the fact that he can own a home. In the house, it is only a ha'ara. It is only a reflection, hey, this is a home. There is not the human being there at the time.